Good morning. This is Joyce Bridge with the Ross Programs. I'm waiting for Mr. Leslie Person to sign on. He's with Pinnacle Bank. He is one of our partners that provide financial education to our home buyers participants with the Ross Program. Hi, Leslie. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Joyce.
How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
I've already introduced you to our audience, and I told them that you're with Pinnacle Bank. Tell us a little bit how long you've been with the banking industry.
Yes, I've been in banking for 15 years now.
And what made you decide to go into banking?
Well, I kind of had that impression that the bankers from growing up, they had the nice big offices and just sat back and signed papers all day. Got into banking and realized that was far from what they did.
Yeah. And I also advised them that in the past that you provided financial education for our participants in our home buyers program that we had in 2018, 19, and sometimes in 2017. So you have been working with the Housing Authority for that long time. Tell us a little bit about your experiences working with us.
Right. Well, as I've mentioned, before, I'm very thankful for the invitation to meet with Durham Housing. When we first to speak with clients. So, Durham Housing really helped us get kicked off in this area to even be able to offer mortgages and let people know that there's possibilities out there and different options for buying a home.
So let's talk about the process. We have gotten a lot of myths about credit. Let's talk about the myths of credit. I know that a credit score is one of the most important things that a bank looks at when a person is ready to make a large purchase, such as a home or a car. There's one type of credit inquiry and it always affects your credit. Is that true?
Yeah, actually there's several types. Two most important, you've got what we call a soft inquiry, which is something that you can do if you just want to check your credit. Also, if there's a lender that wants to get you as a client and they just want to get a quick look at your credit history to see what kind of, see how you've handled your expenses, they may do a soft inquiry and that doesn't hurt your credit score. But if you are opening an account or applying for a loan, they have to do a hard inquiry, which takes a full look at your credit. That can cause your credit scoring to go down just a little bit. But if it's just a hard inquiry and you haven't opened an account, then your credit scoring should recover in a few months.
Okay. I know that from the home buyers classes, some of the residents and participants always fall in love with the house first and then they go to the bank. And I think it should be the other way around. You should go to the bank and get your credit score first and see what is on your credit report. Is that correct?
Right. It's real important that you check your credit and be aware of what your credit is before you look to purchase. We do advise that you look at your credit report several times a year. We all, by law, are entitled to get a free credit report from each of the major credit bureaus each year, and you should take advantage of that. You also have partners like Reinvestment Partners on Gear Street here in Durham. They can help you look at your credit and make sure that you're ready to buy a home as well.
And the three credit bureaus are, help me if I got it right, Experian, TransUnion, and
Equifax.
And so you're entitled to get a free credit report from each of those agencies at least once a year.
Yes, you can get one from each agency. What we advise is maybe get one every 4 months throughout the year, get one from a different agency. You can print, and if you have access to a printer or save it to your computer, you can also request that they mail you a copy.
Okay.
And they will send it to you in the mail. It takes a little bit longer, but you can request and get that mailed as well.
So why are never the scores always the same?
Well, there's a big secret out there that we don't know. The credit agencies don't exactly tell us how they calculate the score, but we do know that part of that score is based on how you pay your bills, if you pay on time. And part of the score is also based on how much credit you use and how much credit you have. And then a major part as well is based on how long you've had a particular credit account.
Okay.
So though each company calculates differently, those are the three major areas that they use to determine your credit score. And so that's why when you get your credit scoring, it may be different from each agency as well, just because of the differences.
And I think you and I talked about it once before, that not all major companies report to the same, or to all three agencies.
Right, and that's absolutely right. Depending upon the company, they may report to only one bureau, and they may report to all three of the major credit bureaus. If they only report to one bureau, you may have a higher score. So it's important to know when you open an account where they're reporting to. And if you ask, they will tell you that they report to all three or just one, because when you're buying a home in particular, the banks are going to look at all three of the major bureaus, and your high score and your low score, they won't use. They'll use the one that's in the middle.
Oh, wow.
So this kind of gives an average, but the scores could have a wide range as well.
Can you ask your lender or your store to report to all three, or is that not a question that you can ask?
Usually it's not something that you can decide. I would expect that the lenders have to pay a small fee to report as well.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, that may calculate into how that reporting's done. Also, reporting is not equal. You may be aware that, you can pay some things forever. You might pay your utility bill forever on time, and it might not be reported. But if you're late once, you might find that on your credit report.
Isn't that something?
So be aware certainly of those types of activity as well.
I see one of your myths is paying off past debts will instantly help your credit. What is the truth about that?
Well, it's certainly paying off anything that you owe will help your credit, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
If you pay off any loan, usually it takes at least a month, sometimes 2 or 3 months before it comes off your credit report. So though it will help if you pay, it's not going to cause your credit score to jump immediately.
And we talked about this before too. The only thing that can help your credit score, regardless of the ads on television and the signs that you see on the street, like credit repair, the only thing that can really help your credit is to pay your bills on time. You and I also talked about if a bill is due on the 30th of the end of the 30th of the month, and you pay it on the 30th of the month, then that doesn't help your credit score. Is that correct?
Well, if you pay on the 30th of the month, you're still good. If you're due on the 30th, then you're paying on the due date, and that's okay to pay on the due date. If you pay more than 30 days past the due date, that's when the companies will report it to the credit bureaus, and that can negatively affect your score. One thing that's important as well as, you may have someone that they consistently pay on day 31, and it looks like they pay consistently on their credit report. But even if you're paying 1 day late, companies will report that you are more than 30 days past due.
Right.
And that dings your credit.
I noticed that a lot of people are paying online now. You and I talked about that too, paying it through your bank versus paying it at the website of the company. Tell me what your feelings are about that.
I believe if you can set up automatic payment, it's the perfect way to get it done, and it ensures that you get it paid on time every month. The way that I prefer to do it is to go to the company's website. If you have your power bill, go to their website and enter the payment information so that they are responsible for pulling the payment before it's due. That way, you're not trying to keep up with payment due dates. You just have to make sure that the funds are available in your account when it's time to due. So if you budget properly, let them take the payment out, then you never have to worry about being late.
Suppose that you are one of the many people that get paid once a month, okay? And it is always on the 14th of the month. Let's just give a date, an example. Can you ask your creditor to change your due date?
Lots of creditors will change your due date. That is something that is more likely to happen with maybe your credit card company, or if you, let's say if you happen to have a personal loan account with like a furniture company.
Yes.
It's not so much something that happens with like the utility companies, because they have I would say they have their meters to be read on a certain day.
I see.
So it may be a bit harder to change with like a utility, but certainly credit card companies will manage the payment date for you.
That is very good to know. Okay, thanks. We are going to talk about now mortgages. We talked about earlier, we talked about making sure that you have your down payment assistance, not down payment assistance, but your down payment ready when you get ready to purchase a home. I know that there are a lot of down payment assistance programs out there. However, a person needs to have money of their own because of incidences. You have to pay for your inspection, you have to pay for your appraisal, and you have to make sure that you have money to pay for your homeowner's insurance in advance. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Pinnacle has a really good plan. Let's talk about the savings aspect of your bank.
Right. So it is important, as you mentioned, when you're buying a home, to have some, extra funds available for the expenses, not only before closing, but also things that might happen after closing. So when you're buying, the lender is going to look at reserves, what you have holding in your accounts for savings or your checking account. In some cases, they want to see that, you have funds available to carry at least 1 month or maybe even 2 months after you buy your home, so that, you're not in that immediate pressure, and, you want to be able to enjoy your home when you move in instead of worrying about paying bills. So if you have those reserves in place, that's helpful and gives you a little bit more comfort level.
Right.
One thing that Pinnacle does, if you're planning to buy a home, we do have a special account, which we call an IDA account, which is essentially an account that you can save toward your closing costs. It allows you to save up to $1,000 over the course of at least 6 months, and Pinnacle will match your savings up to $1,000. So even if you're saving a little each month, you can get an extra $1,000 to go to work closing.
Oh, that's so good.
And the only thing that we do is ask you to let us know when you want to get that, started. We'll work with you to get the account set up. And, if it's 5 months and you've saved and you're ready to buy your home, we're not going to make you wait another month just to get 6 months in. We will still help you with those funds if that's something you want to do. Just keep in mind, the money's always yours if you're saving, but if you decide not to buy a home, then we will not match those funds. So it's real important, if you want the match, that you do ultimately buy your home.
That is so good to know. I'm so glad that you have that program available for anyone that wants to purchase a home.
Certainly.
We also talked about the idea you're going to close on your house in 15 days, and then you decide you want to go shopping and you find this perfect sofa. It's not good to buy that sofa before you close. And I think you had a story that yours was similar. Can you share that with us today?
Yes, one of the most heartbreaking stories that I've had around home buying happened many years ago when I was working with another bank, and there was a client who had been approved to buy her home. She was really just a couple of weeks from closing, and she went to one of the furniture companies. Her eyes got bright, and they were ready to let her buy whatever she wanted. She bought over $20,000 worth of furniture to fill her house to be delivered the day she closed. All right.
Leslie, I have no idea what happened.
I never left.
I am so glad you're here. Okay. What happened? Did I just disappear?
I think you just disappeared.
I did disappear. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my computer just. Okay, where were we? Oh, yes.
So we were talking about a client that filled her house with furniture. Well, she bought a lot of furniture before she got her house to be delivered the day that she closed. And the banks, of course, have to verify that you're still in good credit standing before closing. In this particular case, when they pulled her credit again, she had a lot more debt than she had, and there was so much that she was not able to close. She just couldn't afford the house and the furniture payment. The key thing there is, if you wait until after you get your home, you may well be able to pay for that furniture, and the furniture company, they will still let you buy it after you get your home.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Yes. So please, if you're looking to buy a home, stay away from the auto dealerships and stay away from the furniture companies, because they will certainly help you get what you want, but be patient.
Wow. So she didn't buy her home, so I guess she had to cancel the order.
She was not able to buy her home immediately.
Not immediately.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So anyone out there that would like to become a banker or an expert on finance like Leslie, what advice would you give them, Leslie?
Well, it depends really on your experience. I started out with the customer service background, started working in retail, then worked with the drugstores, and I got my first job with banking from the drugstore. That's no different transition. But, I went from the drugstore to working in banking and learned from there. The experience that I had managing the retail store kind of translated over to managing at the banking. And then, of course, as I got experience from that part, moved into my current role, financial advisor. But if you're looking to start in banking, certainly if you've worked at all and have some type of customer service experience, that's a good place to start. It's also helpful, even locally, Durham Tech or any of the other universities, if you want to get some formal classes on accounting or business, that's a great resource. And that's certainly a good place to start as well. Also, one thing that's really important is if you know somebody that works in banking, ask them what their particular company is looking for. Sometimes you'll find that those companies will offer some training and so forth for people who have an interest in banking that may be useful.
That's a good idea. Awesome. So is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we sign off?
Well, one thing you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the ways that someone can buy a home, we have partnered, again, and I like the use of partners, but we have partnered with reinvestment partners in Durham. Pinnacle also will be offering up to $7,500 to assist with your closing costs and home purchase. So that program is in effect starting next week. So certainly you can reach out to reinvestment partners or to us directly at Pinnacle if you have any questions along that. One thing also, if you have questions about your finances, you don't have to be a client with Pinnacle. I just happen to be in the role where offering advice is what we do. It's not necessarily to get an account or to get a loan, but we're allowed to offer advice even if you bank with someone else, and that's always important.
That'd be great. I would like to share your contact information at the end of this video, a phone number and an email address. Is that okay with you?
Yes,
Leslie?
absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the market now is the seller's market. So the inventory, I think, is low, but you can prepare yourself because things change as the days go on.
Yes.
It may change tomorrow, it may change next year, but you can prepare yourself in the event. You can go and get that credit report looked at now to make sure that score is where it needs to be. You can also open up a savings account at Pinnacle Bank so you can have that money in reserve because you're going to need it. You're going to need it. You're going to need it.
Yes.
I can't even express that as much as I can. You're going to need some money of your own in order to make that purchase, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's very, very important. It's better to be ready and patient and have to wait than to have to get ready when you find that place that you want.
There is one more subject that we got to touch.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I stayed up late last night and that man came on TV about bankruptcy. Leslie, tell me how your feelings are about bankruptcy. I know it's complicated.
Yes, I get a little bit nervous every time I see that guy on television because he makes bankruptcy seem so easy. Bankruptcy is something that can affect your credit for many years. The two types of bankruptcy that we look at for individuals is what Chapter 13, which I call consolidation, and Chapter 7, which we kind of call liquidation. With the Chapter 7 liquidation, essentially you are selling off the things that you own and hoping to pay off the creditors. If you do Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that stays on your credit reporting for 10 years.
10 years?
For 10 years. So that's a long time to be punished for going to bankruptcy. If you have Chapter 13 bankruptcy where you're consolidating and the court appoints someone to make the payments to the people that you owe, Chapter 13 will stay on your credit reporting for 7 years. So though there may be sometimes when bankruptcy may be needed, it should absolutely be a last resort. And don't believe that it's easy, because there are some things as far as the consolidation, which you yourself can speak with the creditors and negotiate directly for either a lower payment or an extended payment. That way, though your credit may have been harmed because you were late a few times, you're not going to be damaged for having 7 to 10 years of worrying about getting that credit reporting back.
Wow. And we also talked about when you're getting ready to go and buy that car, you go to the dealership, and if your credit score is where they want it, then fine. But if it's not the immediate financial institution, they'll send it out to everyone in the world, and then your score plummets. When they find someone that can finance you, then your score has gone down because of the inquiries and the hits.
Right. If there are too many inquiries on your report, it will cause your credit scoring to go down. And it's really important to remember that, because the auto dealerships themselves, most don't necessarily, even if they have internal credit, they may, of course, have partners which they work with to make sure you can get financed if you don't meet their terms. So they just, when you're signing, you may not even read the small print, but it's giving them permission to just share your information. And they throw it out there because more than likely they get a fee on top of financing you if someone else will help finance your purchase.
Exactly.
And also be aware that, if you look at some of the online mortgage lenders, and their commercials are on every day as well, those guys also do the same thing. Within 30 seconds of sharing your information with them, your phone might ring 30 times. And as an example of that, just a few years ago, I wanted to see what the rates were for mortgages compared to our rates at one of the online lenders. So I put my information in and my work number, and for the next hour, my phone was ringing constantly.
Really?
And I had to call them and, using some choice words, tell them to please stop calling my number. And I never even got to the point where I clicked to agree for it to be shared.
Wow.
Once I realized what was going to happen, I clicked out and the phone started ringing immediately.
Get out of here.
So be aware.
Yes. Yes. Please be aware. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. Okay. Those words of wisdom are very well taken. Wow. I never did that, but that's a good way to find out what your competition is doing. So is there anything else? I think that we have covered everything. I think, did we? I believe so. So thank you so much for giving me your time today. It has been an educational conversation. I love it so much. So if you like to talk with Leslie, you'll see his contact information at the end of this video, his email address and phone number. And we hope that you enjoyed us as much as we enjoy being here. So thanks so much, Leslie, and I hope you have a good day.
Thanks, Joyce.
Please subscribe and like this video and share it with your friends. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Leslie.
Bye-bye.